2020 Harley-Davidson LiveWire First Ride review. This hog is shockingly good. Sure, it's expensive, but it's exceptionally well executed. Portland, Oregon. There was one crucial element missing at the launch of the 2020 Harley-Davidson LiveWire, the brain-rattling thump of V-twin engines. Virtually every other test ride in the brand's 116-year history has been punctuated by the rumble of fuel-burning power plants, but this time our two-wheeled Armada glided through the city in near silence using nothing but electrons. Electric motorcycles have been produced for years by startups like Alta Motors, Bramo, Energica, and Zero, to name a few. But the battery-powered LiveWire marks a dramatic departure from Harley-Davidson's century-old formula of converting dead fossil fuels into relatively high amounts of sound and little performance fury. How did the folks in Milwaukee tackle the growing EV market? First, some vital stats. The LiveWire's permanent magnet motor produces 105 horsepower and 86 pound-foot of torque from a 15.5 kWh lithium-ion battery, good for 0 to 60 miles per hour in 3 seconds flat. Combined range is 98 miles according to the World Motorcycle Test Standards. City range, based on the MIC scale, is 146 miles. Harley also claims that constant cruising at 70 miles per hour can get you 70 miles before a recharge. But the charging setup is, simply put, a paradox. The good news first. The LiveWire's onboard DC fast charging system can deliver 80% charge in 40 minutes, and a full charge in an hour, using a compatible DC fast charging station. But if you're not near a fast charger, the onboard AC charger can only provide level 1 charging. A full charge will take an excruciating 12.5 hours. What gives? Chief Engineer Glenn Covell suggested that the company is counting on the growth of DC fast charging, as evidenced by their collaboration with Electrify America. He also cited the packaging complexity and thermal demands of combining DC fast charging with level 2. Long rides will require planning ahead to make sure DC fast chargers are on the route. Power is routed to the rear wheel via a bevel gear primary drive, which produces a mild thrum, and a relatively quiet belt-driven final drive. And speaking of acoustics, the LiveWire emits its own signature sound, which CEO Matt Levitach likens to a TIE fighter from Star Wars. Though the sound is subtle and more apparent to onlookers than the rider, it's definitely there, dispatching a vaguely sci-fi and somewhat mechanical impression. Interestingly, about halfway through the bike's development, Harley engineers felt it was missing a certain something. In an attempt to make the rider feel more connected to the bike, they added a haptic pulse, which is essentially a slow beat emitted by the motor that's perceptible only when the bike is at rest in propulsion mode, i.e., when it's in gear. The so-called heartbeat can be dialed up, down, or be completely eliminated by a software update at Harley dealerships.